Hi, Colin Smith of Video Revealed here. If you're watching this, it's because you're the proud owner of 50 animated drag and drop split screens. If you want to get the split screens, then there's a link in the description where you can donate $20 to Video Revealed and you'll get these 50 split screens and anything else we make available to our wonderful PayPal donors. All right, I'm going to take you through how to import these, how to use them, how to drag and drop, how to use them with logos, how to use them with images and video, and how to use them with different frame rates. All right, let's have a look. So once you download the split screens, once you unzip them, you'll get a folder with a project, and in there are also 9 placeholders. And these are just placeholders. Don't get rid of them. Don't move them at all. In fact, take this whole folder and put it away somewhere safely. What you don't want to do is overwrite the sequences in this project. So put this away for safekeeping and import them as needed. All right. I'll show you a couple of ways of working with them. In this scenario, I've already imported all the split screens into this folder here. And you can see there's 50 of them. And if you open them up, in the newest version of Premiere Pro, it actually opens everything into another bin. If you want to see this in a larger window, if you mouse over this area and tap the tilde key, it opens up all of them. And you can see I've saved them with previews. And the colored numbers, these are the placeholder videos. So they're giving you an idea of what these animations look like before you even use them. So each one has an animation from 2 screens up to 9 screens down here at the bottom. And some are using some pretty advanced animations. Each one of these is a sequence. They're named accordingly. So anything with a 2 is 2 screens. Anything with 4 is 4, all the way to 9. What you don't want to do is you don't want to use these as a sequence because you'll overwrite them. It's much better to drag these into a current sequence, especially if you're already working on a project and you think, hey, I'd love to have a 4-screen split screen at this point. You can just drag it in. So let's go have a look. This is a sequence. This is an HD 2997 sequence. This will work with anything, but I'll just start with what I built my placeholders with. So this button here will change the way you drag in sequences. So let's go grab one of these sequences. So let's do this one here. When I click on this sequence, with this button selected, you'll see V1 and A1. This is not the way you want to drag it in. This is a nested sequence. Although you see the animation, you can't really work with it. It's just a nested sequence. If you see the green, it's wrong. Delete it and turn that button off. So I'll delete that out, make sure this is turned off, and you can see immediately all of these tracks become available. Now when you drag this in, you're dragging all of these tracks in. So each placeholder comes in as its own track. If you already have a bunch of stuff in your timeline, then you can drag the same thing into that timeline. So you have to drag it in as individual items, not as a nested sequence. So now that we have this in our sequence, I'll go to any videos that I happen to have, and here I've got a bunch of Adobe stock. So let's drag this one here into number 4 is the big one. So you look for the placeholder name, that's number 4. After you start dragging, hold the Alt key on Windows, the Option key on Mac, and you'll see you're highlighting these tracks. Let go, and now we've added that split screen into that video. Pretty easy, right? Let's add 3 more. So let's go find something. How about this one? Let's drag that one into there. Drag that one into number 2. And maybe that one into number 3. Now when we go back to the beginning and play, Each one of the videos is in that split screen. That's how easy it is to replace the placeholders with your video. Drag and drop with Option on Mac or Alt on Windows. Now, one thing I want to alert you to is the fact that I've given you audio that's linked to these videos. And that's great if you want to bring in the audio. If you don't care about the audio, delete it. Because here's one of the problems that you might encounter. The audio has a duration, and you can see that triangle. That means that that video has ended. So if I try to drag this further, I can't, because I'm at the end of this. Now, that will only occur if you're dragging in video without audio. If you're dragging in video with audio, you won't see the white triangle. Your audio will be the same length as your video. But in my case, I just had video, so this is stopping me from bringing that in. So you can delete all of this. The easiest way is to unlink this, select that, and delete it. One other way that you can do this is when you're bringing in your clip, you can turn off all of the A targets, and that won't bring in the video. So now I can drag this any duration I want. Obviously, that video is long enough. These placeholders are only a certain duration. So now we've got all of our videos in place. What I also want to show you is that, let's go to Portrait of Young Man here. When you select that clip and go to the effects controls, you'll notice that we've got transform open in the effects controls. So each one of the placeholders has a different scale value. Sometimes they're 100, sometimes 50%. In this one, it's 33.3% because it's 1/3 of the screen and he fit into that. So I can change any of this. So if I change the scale, and here I can change the position. So if I drag his face down and drag that over, now I've got his whole face in that screen. And if I wanted to, I could even add a keyframe for scale and a keyframe for position, and I could even animate this further. So if I wanted to go back out, zoom out, now I've got keyframes in the transform, not in the motion section, the transform section. So he comes out, and now when it hits this area, it's going to zoom out while it's animating. If you replace this image with another one, well, let's do that right now. So let's replace him with a video that is not the same scale. So this is a close-up. If we replace that one with the close-up, actually, it doesn't look that bad. It happened to work out. Oh, well, that's interesting. But what I'm trying to get at is the keyframes may not match. And I happen to choose something where they match perfectly. So that does work with the close-up of that face. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is the duration, because right now when you drag and drop each one of these videos and replace the placeholder, the new video comes in at the beginning of the clip. And sometimes that doesn't work out. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's grab another one of the split screens. Let's go to a 3-up. And let's drag these in. So number 2, split screen 2, I'll drag her into there. And let's drag him back into 1. And so he's above. And there's one shot here where the person doesn't appear for a few moments. And that's what I'm trying to find. Oh, there it is. Okay, so let's drag her into placeholder 3. Let's play this back. And you can see it takes a moment for the girl over here to appear. So this is, as I said, each one of these videos is happening at the beginning. Well, what if I wanted, as soon as that slice appears, I want her to be in the frame? Because right now she's out of the frame. We see the books and then she's there, which still looks cool, by the way, but still I want her to be here sooner. So here's what you can do. If you double click on this clip, it loads it into the source monitor. And by default, there is no in and out point. The in point is over here. But if I change this, drag this in here and tap the I key, I now have an in point. Now I'll drag from the source monitor over top, and now I've got a different in point. You can also use match frame. Don't double click on this clip in here to load it to change the in and out point, because that'll cause problems. Instead, select that and tap the F key. And now we can do the same thing. So let me choose this where she's making faces and hit an in point. Alt Option drag. And now we've got a different view in there. It gets even crazier. I've got a clip here that is a long clip, long enough to use multiple times. That's this one here. So I'm going to grab my 4-up split screen. Let's do that one right there. Okay, so for this one, I'll drag her into 1. So that's at the beginning of the clip. Next, when she's got her hand on her mouth, I'll hit the I key, in point, Alt drag to number 2, in point, number 3, in point, number 4. Now we've got a video with the same model, the same shot, 4 times. And if you want, we can add an effect to each one of these split screens to take it a step further. So let's do that. I'll go to my effects. I'll type in tint. Tint comes up, and I'm going to map white to a color. So I'll choose a pastel kind of red. And we'll do the same with each of these. Adding tint to each one. How about pastel green? Pastel purple. And maybe we'll leave that one untouched. So now we've got this happening. Looks pretty cool, right? Amazing. And if you dragged and dropped another video on top of this, it would keep all of the tint information. And the tint is just another effect that you can turn on and off. Now, one thing you might be noticing is the performance sucks. And that's because you're streaming multiple videos at the same time. This is 4 HD streams. So you have to understand the output is going to look perfect when you render this. But if you're just messing around with this on your computer, it might be really, really slow, especially the ones that are on an angle. The diagonal ones, some of them use linear wipe. That is not an accelerating effect. And you'll see a red timeline. Don't worry, it will still output perfectly. Don't worry. Next up, I want to talk about compensating for anything that's larger than HD. I have a couple of clips that are a little bit larger and they're offset a little bit different. So let me go to a 3-up split screen. This one. And I'm going to drop in some clips I know that are a little bit larger. All right, so we play this back. There they are. And you'll notice right there, this middle clip is going past those bars. And the bars are really just, they're a graphic that I've added over top. So if you don't want the bars, you could do that and it's working. But if you want to crop this correctly, we have to find the right one. I believe that's it right there. Okay, so it's that one here. You go to the effects controls, open up crop, and right now it's set to 33.3%, and I needed to change that to 34.3. That's because the clip itself is larger, so the percentage doesn't work. Trim that a little bit and you're okay. You'll notice there's no keyframes on this particular one, so it's easy to do. So now she fits inside there. Oh, and you can see her left side too. So I needed to make that 34.3. So both sides, because she's a bit larger. So if this was a 4K clip or Ultra HD or larger, then that number would have to be larger. But it works. Boom, just like that. Okay. Now let's talk about placing into a different frame rate. So as I mentioned, this is 2997. So I've created a 25 frame per second sequence. Now when you drag this in, you'll get a warning the clip doesn't match. Just keep existing settings. And now when you replace them, because chances are if you've got a sequence at 25 frames per second, it's because you have media that's 25 frames a second. By the way, Premiere Pro doesn't care. You can mix and match. So if you had different frame rates, you can do that. But in this case, let's say that you wanted to work in 25 frames per second, your media is in 25 frames per second, then create a sequence. Once you drag this and drop and you replace the placeholders will be gone and your media will now be 25 frames per second. So that makes it easier. All right. I mentioned performance. You can turn the resolution down. So this is going to help performance playback a little bit better if you are having trouble with performance. And if you wanted to use these bars on their own, so let me grab one that's got more stuff in it. Let's use this one. This one has 7 videos in it. Oh, and I'm actually missing one of these bars. That will be in there. So let's say that you didn't want that look. So what you can do is replace the video. So you can just delete the video out of there. I'll drag the bars down. And put a video in here. So let's put something like that. And it gives you the impression that you do have multiple screens here, but really it's just an overlaid graphic. Just another use for that. If you want to change the graphic colors, select the bar graphic, and in the editing effects controls panel, you can twirl that down, twirl down appearance, and you can change that color right there if you want to change the bars. And each one of those bars can be changed. All right, now I want to show you another way to work with these. And that's through the media browser. So now I'm looking at my split screen. So this is the same folder as that. So this is the media browser looking in this folder. What we want to look at is that project. So if you double click on this project, it will open up and show you all 50 of them in here. The only problem is we don't get a preview. You get a preview for media in the media browser, but you don't get a preview for sequences. So you'll see all of the numbers showing up, but what you can do is double click on them. They will open in the source monitor. They will also open in the timeline, and you'll see the name will have source monitor after it. You haven't imported this into your project yet. You're just previewing it. But this is just a quick way if you were already working on a project and you wanted to grab one of these screens but not open the whole thing. So this project, this is my project that I'm working on here, but that is, I can now drag this in. So again, make sure that button stays deselected and I'm dragging that in from the media browser. Pretty easy. One other thing that I want to show you that might happen is in the video placeholders, there's 9 placeholders here. If you end up with more, let's say that you were dragging them in and Premiere Pro actually brought more of these in the edit menu, you can consolidate duplicates and it will get rid of any of those duplicates. If it doesn't get rid of the duplicates, it's because they're nested too deep and all you have to do is bring them up to a higher level and delete them. Okay, how about working with images? So let's do that. Let's go to a split screen. And I have one here that is really kind of crazy. And you might wonder, what would you use this for? So you'll see a large video in the center and just a few slices around the side. And let me show you my thoughts on this. So I'm going to go with the dog in the center. So I'll look for placeholder number 1. That's number 1. So the dog goes in here. Okay, so now I've got the dog showing up in here. And I've got another folder of images. And I'm going to drag them into the other split screens. There are a bunch of images that I have of some treats for the dog. So I'll drag the balls into there, the bones into a next one, beef jerky, and some dog toys. So now we've got the dog in the middle and the toys. And let's go to those toys. I'll go to the transform and maybe just move that over so it's a little bit easier to see. So now we've got this split screen with images on the outside and the dog in the middle. The outside slices could also be video too. They don't have to be images, but I thought this was just a new creative way of looking at these with images. So they could be very texture oriented, grass, sky, rocks, things of that sort. The last thing I want to show you is working with graphics and a logo. So I'll go back to my split screens and let's grab a 3-up because I want a logo in here. Okay, so let's go to this one. So there's my animation here. Let's say that this is an architectural firm. So we'll grab a skyline shot. I think I've got a better one in here. Okay, so let's do 3 as a skyline. And another skyline here in number 1. And let's say we want the logo to show up where number 2 is. So this is just an Illustrator logo. I'll do the same. I'll Alt drag or Option drag that in here. And the first thing you'll notice is that it's, in this example, it's small. Okay, so if this happens to you, if the logo is a completely different size and doesn't fit, then let's change that. But I want to show you that if we go to the effects controls, remember I mentioned transform, there's also a crop in here, and I showed you I changed that before. This crop is going to cause a problem when I enlarge this logo. So right now it's set to 50%. As I make this larger, you can see it's cropping that out. That's because the crop is a percentage, not a pixel. So it's cropping an already small logo. So I'll turn the crop off and I'll move the position of this logo up. Now when we animate this, the logo comes in and everything animates perfectly. So there you go. There's your how-to drag and drop on the wonderful split screens that you have now because you donated to PayPal and supported us here at Video Revealed. If you don't have these split screens after watching this, hopefully you will donate. There's a link in the description, and after you pay $20, it will take you to a place where you can download not only these wonderful split screens, but anything else we make available to our PayPal donors. Thank you so much for supporting us here. We really do appreciate it. And we've got more good things to come for our wonderful PayPal donors.